There was this time I was still working at a Standard Chartered Bank. So one morning I was going to work very early at around 7:30, and I came across some two girls who had a school uniform. So as I walked along, I thought I could say hi, because something about teenagers in uniform just makes my heart tick. So I asked them their name, I told them my name, and then I asked them where they go to school. So I asked them, oh, so do you go to the Christian Union? They said, yes. So I asked them, do you know about Timazi? And then they told me, yes, I know Timazi. In fact, I read the Timazi that was called I Got Saved Every Weekend Challenge, and I got saved. So she said, I had gotten saved very many times. I could identify with a student whom we had featured at that time, who said that they got saved every weekend challenge. And so when I read the magazine, I identified what it means to be a Christian. I figured I probably had never been one. And then I gave my life to Christ then. So I was going to work. So when I arrived at the office, I took time to just settle in. And then through the whole day, I kept thinking, is it my life more, worth being spent? Reaching young people and, hearing a story like the one I had this morning, rather than just being here talking to machines the whole day. So that sort of put the last nail on the coffin, as they say. And I think that was the day I decided I want to do this forever.
The 21st century teenager is an adventurous individual. Venture describes them. But they are in need, a desperate need for validation, a desperate need for affirmation, a desperate need for anchoring.
Life in a school is difficult.
It's challenging.
Let me just say it's different.
I think the kind of issue students are facing is peer pressure.
Being accepted.
The fear of failure during exams.
Peer pressure. So peer pressure can lead to drug abuse. Peer pressure can lead to absence in school.
Being a mixed school, we have so many issues to deal with relationships. And even among the Christians, among the CU members, convincing them that they should not even have a boyfriend or a girlfriend when they are in school is an issue.
Seriousness in studies. There is no relationship with what is happening in school and what is happening outside. It doesn't matter whether you performed so well in school, so it's like they are finding a disconnect.
Students are going through issues. There's a lot of infiltration of drugs in schools. We have very many students who come from broken families. So we have students who are going depression, they're discouraged. Then we have students who generally are not interested with school, but their parents make them come to school. And we have a lot of crime among students in schools. So on average, students are in need of some form of light.
Over 60% of Kenyan population is 35 years and younger. When you start counting the ones who are now younger, they become even a bigger percentage. So of that 35%, enough of them, the biggest percent is under 20. So anybody who is not helping out that generation is basically, compromising the future of the country. Because if we let them off, we are done. We will not have a future.
And we were concerned for that future. After many years of working with students, we discovered that we could not go everywhere schools were located, but literature could. Over the years, literature has been used to disciple people into causes, either good or bad. God himself chose to write his word in a book. Literature is timeless. Literature transcends geographical and cultural boundaries. It is compelling and captivating and has the power to shape the minds of those who consistently interact with it.
Well, literature plays a big role. And I think we all know that our mind is molded and is made by the things we read. And there's a saying that says that you are what you read.
Timazi is seeking to fill in a space within this country and within the church here in Africa as a center where you will find all the discipleship resources you need to raise a young person into maturity in Christ.
We teach students to know their faith, love it, live it, and defend it. So the big why is because there is eternity. All of us will face that judgment.
Timazi uses literature, among other tools, to help them achieve their objectives in reaching out to the teenagers.
What would be the identity of this magazine? And we say together, almost we were unanimous, we need this magazine to be sound biblically. And the name Timazi popped up. One of them said, oh, fine, then we use Timazi, and Timazi is a Swahili word for plumb line. The tool that the Masons use to check the straightness of a wall. And there it was born.
We write Timazi the way we write it, very deliberately. We do a main issue, a main article. So the main article is written what you would call almost abstractly. So it deals with the issue without a story with it. And then we will write a second article, which we call the support article. So the support article supports the main article. So from the main article, we pick one issue from the main article and then expand it, which is the bigger deal. For instance, why a young student shouldn't bet. So we'll write it as a big article again and now exhaust that whole issue from the main issue. And then we will do 2 more articles that are now stories. So we will give the story of someone who probably got themselves into betting and what that meant for their family. And then in the process, we weave the principles that we talked about in the first article, weaving it in the story of the person who is giving. So those will happen at the same time.
My favorite Timazi issue was on why I should work hard in school. This is because I read it at a time when I was really low, and it motivated me to go back to where I was supposed to be.
The issue that really captivated me the most is the one on the folly of burning your own school. I read an article there about a boy called Ronnie in a certain high school who faced a similar challenge that I face, being sidelined, being rejected, being despised, being mocked. But it's something that I've learned that it is not me who's facing it alone, and it is something that I can cope with.
My encounter with the prophet.
Behind the masks, there's the story of the boy who learned that not all entertainment is harmless.
A few years back, there's one story that has remained memorable for me. We did an issue responding to exam cheating. During that time, there was a rampant exam cheating in schools. So this particular copy landed in a school. It was called Mulika Mwizi. It seems as if there was already an agreement within the school to actually cooperate and cheat in the exams. And the Christians read the magazine. And the CU chairman, who already had decided not to cheat, felt so encouraged and felt that there was already a team standing beside him. And so he just rose up on one of those Sundays and he made a declaration within a school service that let the believers separate themselves and we are not going to cheat. And it was such a heated discussion among the students in the school that the other students tore the magazine into pieces. And when we heard about it, our hearts were warmed. It was an unfortunate incident, but that is the kind of thing we were looking for, that there would be students who will stand up for their faith no matter what. When we began 10 years ago, we only had a pool of 20 schools that were within our network that were actually receiving the magazine. Today, we have 378. We seriously celebrated the leap that we have made, how God has been faithful, how God has walked with us, and the long journey that we have come to give very many more schools and students an opportunity to hear the gospel and to find a reason to defend their faith through a discipleship resource. Kenya has over 8,000 schools. Our heart here at Timazi is to pray that by your help, we will be able to reach the many more 3,000 schools in the coming years. And we want to trust God that we will find people who will join in this movement and be able to place Timazi in every school in this country.